All right, so let's move along here, Joey, to the TNT title. Now, to show you how confusing having all of these titles out there is to me, I had no idea leading up to the match. So you got Hobbs, Joe, and Wardlow. I had no idea which title was on the line. I didn't know what title they were fighting for. I didn't realize that Joe's title is not the one that's on the line. It's Wardlow's TNT title. Like I had no idea. So I found out that it was Wardlow's TNT title. I dug the finish. I liked the finish. I'm cool with Joe winning both those belts. I like Wardlow better, I guess, kind of in chase mode, but I'm cool with Joe winning. I like the way he won. I mean, Wardlow was doing his thing, just destroying Hobbs, and Joe comes in, he cracks him, and he gets the cheap pin. Like I dug the finish.
I love the match. I thought the match was incredible. Um, Wardlow, we talked about him. He's just a star, man.
Star.
And the stuff he did off the top ropes in this match. I mean,
Yeah.
crazy
Big
athleticism
star.
for a guy
Yeah.
his size.
Big star.
That being said, interestingly enough, Wardlow was the smallest guy in the match, which is crazy. But Joe has just ballooned up to the point where he's bigger, and Hobbs is a monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, the match was great. The ending is fine. I guess it's fine. Like, I don't know that Samoa Joe needs to. Why does he? So I don't mind him having the TNT title, but to add to the confusion of the amount of titles,
Yeah.
the other title that he has is the Ring of Honor television title.
Yeah.
And that's a title that I believe the existence of a television title is to always defend it on television.
And he
but
never does.
Ring of Honor doesn't have a television show.
Right.
So so just get rid of the title. Just get rid of that title.
So we're gonna get. I mean, we're clearly this is not over. We got a full on Wardlow Samoa Joe feud, and like I'm here for that. That's gonna be fun.
Yes, and I think it was interesting also at the end of the match, Hobbs
Yeah.
and Wardlow gave each other a little nod,
Yeah.
like thing in the ring. So maybe they team up against Joe because Joe cheated with the belt, and that. So maybe Hobbs is great. Hobbs and Wardlow are, I mean, they're arguably two of the best homegrown talents that this company has created. Like, MJF is the guy, but MJF was pretty big on the indies before AEW. Like, these two guys, Wardlow and Hobbs, I don't think I ever even remotely heard of them before they were in this company. And I think we know Wardlow has huge superstar potential, but I think Hobbs also has huge superstar potential. He is really, really good.
Yeah, I don't think Hobbs had much of a wrestling background. Wardlow, I knew who he was from the independent scene. Now
Okay.
that doesn't mean that he was big, but I knew who he was. Hobbs, yeah, I think Hobbs is essentially like a guy that they
He's
found.
from he's from the factory, right? Did he train at the factory? Like the Cody Rhodes and
Right,
QT
I
Marshall? I
understand.
don't.
I don't know, but he's like a guy they found. I don't think he has an extensive background in pro
Yeah.
wrestling, which just shows you how good he is.
So I agree. We're definitely. I definitely don't think the Joe and Wardlow thing is done, but it could be done because there's a very built-in. First of all, the crowd loves Wardlow. They love
Yep.
Wardlow, and it's a very built-in feud with MJF.
Well, that was the first thing I
So
thought of, where it's like, okay, are they taking the title off of Wardlow because they're going to elevate him into the bigger title picture?
it's possible. Now, I will say, and we'll talk about it briefly at the end because it doesn't need a ton of time. We do actually know, well, potentially who MJF will be fighting next because there is a number one contenders match on Dynamite this week. But anyways, I don't think that's going to be like a long-term thing. I think that's probably a
And who
one-off
is that? It's
situation.
Ricky Starks and Ethan Page. Is that what we got now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll talk about briefly the pre-show, but yeah, Ricky Starks won his match against Brian Cage. So now it's Ethan Page and Ricky Starks on Dynamite for who will fight MJF at Winter is Coming, I think is the name
Well,
of
so
the
we
event.
gotta figure it's gonna be Ricky Starks. I mean, they're gonna throw him a baby face, and a baby face the crowd's really behind these days.
Yeah, but man, well, we do you want to talk about that now? Because I mean, unless you have anything else on the TNT match,
No, I don't.
but other than shout out to Big E because that match was just big meaty men slapping meat, right? I mean, that's what that match was, and you can't you can't have too much of that. A Haas fight and big
I
meaty
love a
men
good
slap
Haas
and meet.
fight.
But yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with Ricky Starks and Ethan Page because they're both awesome. Like they're both great and they both could be elevated. Like Ricky Starks, there's something about Ricky Starks. He gives me like really young, like Dwayne Johnson, like early Rock vibes.
Ricky Starks is having a good. He's got good momentum right now. He's had this good momentum for a little bit. I think Ricky Starks is the number one contender after this week.
Yeah, but Ethan Page is great. I think I'm glad he's getting some type of push here because when they brought him in, I thought he was immediately going to be elevated towards the top because he's really good and he's a great heel. And the stuff that he was doing with Dan Lambert from American Top Team, him and Scorpio Sky, I forgot what their name of their tag team was,
Like
but
the
that I
best
thought,
men, is that what they were called?
yeah, something like that. It was like Best Men or whatever. It was really good. I think Ethan Page is really good. So I could see it going either way. But yes, it makes more sense for Ricky Starks because they need MJF to be the heel.
Speaking of which,
but Ricky Starks is a great heel too.
If I could just say something really quick, it's just popping into my head. Where the hell is Miro, man? Is he hurt?
The last note, by the way, the last note in my notes. Where's Miro?
Where's Miro,
FTR?
man?
Where are these guys? But I don't know. I mean, we know where FTR is. They have like 800 titles right now, so they're defending everywhere. And we know House of Black, Aleister Black took his little thing, and they're coming back.
Miro, where the hell is Miro, man? Yeah, all right.
That was one of the more exciting acquisitions they had because he's so good, man.
Yep.
He's so good.
I've had a lot of pro wrestlers on my show. By far, my most awkward interview was Miro.
Why?
Because, I love talking to the wrestlers and I have great relationship with AEW and WWE. And I had Miro on. This is like, I don't know, probably a year ago. And he did the whole spot with me as Miro. Like there was no
gimmick. He was in gimmick.
He was totally in Miro mode. And so I did get a really good quote out of him, which made all the rags, but other than that one quote I got out of him, I couldn't get anything out of him because he was full on Miro and I couldn't get behind the scenes on anything. So that was a tough spot to do with Miro. He's living the gimmick, man. Okay, so I want to hit on real quick here, and we'll wrap it with the Elite because that's probably the second biggest story of the night. But my favorite part of the night was Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter winning the title over Toni Storm. I like Toni Storm NXT a lot. Toni Storm AEW hasn't been doing a whole lot for me. I mean, just not a whole lot for me. And I like the organic momentum that Jamie Hayter has built. I like everyone being behind her. I think she is fantastic. And I thought the match was really good. I can't believe how many false finishes there were. I was like for the last 5 minutes of the match. And I actually cheered when she ended up winning, when she got the pin. I thought it was the best moment of the night. I really dug it.
Yeah, I thought it ended up being a great match. The first 10 minutes though was like a little slow. It took a while. For some reason it felt like they didn't have they weren't really in sync in the beginning. But right around when Rebel or whatever Rebel, right around when she came out, it seemed to really pick up and the match got great. And it ended up being with all the false finishes and all that stuff.
I love it.
I couldn't agree with you more on Toni Storm. And I think part of the issue is the constantly bringing in these people that you think is going to get you this big reaction. And they brought Toni Storm in as this conquering hero of the women's division that is this big star that everybody's supposed to be super behind. And they didn't give her a chance to just build up in AEW.
Right.
They immediately brought her in to just be a star. And she's not yet in this company. And so it's hard to get behind her because she never even had a chance to find her footing in the company. They put an interim title on her, which again, interim titles are stupid. Even in the post scrum, Tony Khan said, "I'm still evaluating the Thunder Rosa situation." Dude, evaluating what?
Yeah, it's a fake title. There's nothing to evaluate. Just do whatever. All right, nothing to evaluate.
Yeah, interim titles are dumb. But anyways, yeah, they put the interim title on her, and it was hard to get behind her. Whereas on the complete opposite side, you have Jamie Hayter, who's been crushing it, and they've built her into what she is, and that's why you get behind her, because she's been doing great work in this company for a while now. And now she's getting what she deserves.
And now you got that dynamic of Jamie Hayter having the belt right next to Britt. You know, Britt wants that belt. You got a whole built-in storyline, which they've been teasing for like a year anyway. So I that was my favorite part of the night, was Jamie Hayter winning. For me at that point, it's like, all right, I enjoyed this show. I got something really cool out of it.
Yeah, it ended up. I was a little nervous that we were just gonna have 3 women's match that were kind of duds, but that redeemed it. The ending of that match and the way it went down definitely redeemed it. I thought it was interesting that Britt, you know, obviously when Britt comes out, it becomes bigger and the crowd gets behind it because they love Britt. And it will be interesting to see how it plays out in terms of them out on eventually turning on each other, because Britt was like all in on her winning and celebrating, and they seemed cohesive to end it. So we'll see how they eventually turn it, because that's got to be where it's headed.
It's definitely where it's headed. They've been teasing it for long enough. Yes. And finally here, second match of the night, the Elite and Death Triangle. The Elite come out. I know it's the Elite and it's not the Young Bucks. I was kind of bummed with the entrance. You know, they came out to Kansas's Carry On My Wayward Son. All right. I wanted to hear Super Kick Party. Yeah. It's been 2 months. I was a little bit bummed that we didn't get Super Kick Party, but the crowd loves them. They were super pumped. Kenny Omega looked like $1,000,000. He looked
yoked.
Great.
He is absolutely yoked. Like he is jacked up right now.
Great. Yeah. And the match was fun. I thought the Elite were a lock to win the match. So that was a nice surprise that Death Triangle won, because I like just continuing to guess what they're going to do with those guys.
Yeah, I think it's the Wayward Sons thing is interesting. I think there's something tied in there. I think there's something with their new personality or gimmick that Wayward Son is something that
they were all 3 of them singing the lyrics the whole time, or way into it.
Yeah, there's something there. Because I think I read a while back that the Bucks or AEW may have trademarked something around Wayward Sons or something like that. So I don't know if that's going to be tied into their gimmick now. Tony Khan mentioned afterwards that they will keep using that. So maybe that's just their music as a trio.
Yeah, I think so.
But I actually think it's cool that Tony Khan, this is one thing I do think is pretty cool with Tony Khan, that he's willing to pay the money for the rights for these wrestlers to have actual like songs.
Right.
That, you know, it's pretty cool. Like Jungle Boy has like an actual song, Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
So I think that's cool. The match was awesome. We said it at the beginning. I'll say it now. The Elite shows up. It's just bigger. It's just a bigger event. It's a bigger show. It means more. The whole thing means more when they're there. They created the company. They are the staples of the company, and they're the best. I mean, they're just so damn good. And their chemistry from day one with the Lucha Bros and Pac.
Oh, the Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros. I forget which pay-per-view it was. It may have been this one year ago. But the steel cage match they had with Lucha Bros, where Lucha Bros took the titles off them. You had the sneaker with the spikes underneath it. And that might be my favorite AEW match, you know? So.
I know what my favorite AEW match is. I can actually tell you. It was a tag match. And it was the Young Bucks, but it was the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, which I think at Revolution a few years ago.
That's early on.
Which I actually think, if you go back and watch it, might be the best tag match in the history of tag matches. Like, genuinely, it was from start to finish one of the best matches I've ever seen. But yeah, anytime, I mean, even going back to All In before AEW was a company, they did the Golden Elite, which was Kota Ibushi and the Bucks versus Rey Fenix, Bandito, and Rey Mysterio. And then you had Kenny Omega versus Penta on that card too. So this is even before AEW as a company, these guys have all been sort of linked to each other. You had Pac and Kenny Omega had their singles feud for a little bit, which they had an Iron Man match that was incredible. Like these guys, and did you see they announced on the show now that this is a best of 7 series?
Right. Oh my
weird.
God. This is going to stretch for like what, a couple months we're doing this now, which, all right. But that's hard, man. You're going to have to find 7, because you would assume it's code 7. You're going to have to find 7 different ways to tell that match. Like these guys are going to be tested here, man. I liked the end. I liked the whole dynamic of Pac trying to convince Rey Fenix that he did the right thing.
Yeah.
That this is what you need to do. See, like this is how I liked that dynamic.
And it's also interesting that Penta seems to be on Pac's
He's already
side
bought
of this,
in.
where it's like, he's like, look, like this is what we need to do. And
I like that.
So, but again, like in 7 matches, how many times can a team win or lose based on the fact that there's a conflicted guy and he doesn't know if he wants to cheat? Because obviously that's going to be part of it on at least a couple of the matches.
Yeah, like are they going to only win every time when they're cheating, and it's going to get to the last match? It's like, hey, if you cheat right now, we're going to win the best of 7. If you don't, we may not win. Like that could be the story they're telling here.
Well, if I had to guess how this all culminates, it's the 7th match. Rey Fenix doesn't cheat, and then they lose, and then Death Triangle breaks up. I mean, it just seems like that's sort of the natural arc of where this is going. And then, the Elite get the trios titles that basically were created for them in the first place.
That makes a lot more sense. See, that's why I thought the Elite were a lock to win last night. It's their titles. It's their titles. But okay, we're doing a best of 7 here. All right. Yeah. So it's already 1-0.
Yes. Okay. I believe when they showed the graphic, it said 1-0. So okay. I believe.
But we didn't know that until afterward, right?
Nope. And this is weird way of telling another story. It's another thing that AEW does, where it's just like out of nowhere, they're just like, this thing is happening.
That's weird.
Like, what?
That's
and
weird.
When they announced it, it was weird. It was just the timing was strange. But I mean, I guess it could be cool. It's such a long-term thing, like 7 matches.
So the Elite win the next match. They're not the champions.
No. Well, I don't know. Well, I guess that's a good question, because this was for the titles.
Right. Which is what makes it even weirder, that like, if we knew it going in, we would know that, well, I guess if we knew it going in, the Elite could have won yesterday, but they're not the champions. But doing it like this kept that air of mystery, who's going to win. And now we know it's a best of 7, so it's not going to be awarded till after the series. Yeah, like the Elite can win next match. They're not the champions.
Isn't it also kind of weird to have a best of 7 for titles that a team already has? Like, wouldn't it make more sense if no one had the titles and they were doing a best of 7 for the titles? Like,
it could be either way. I don't have a problem with that part.
It's just a strange thing, but you get 7 matches with these 6 guys, so that's going to be fun.
I would say the one thing that's weird about it is, if you're the challenger, which is the Elite, in a regular scenario, if you beat the champs, you get the belts. The Elite have to beat them 4 times to get the belts.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see a situation where they go up 3-0, where Death Triangle goes up 3-0 from cheating.
I think that's what they did with Sheamus and Cesaro. They did a best of 7 many years ago. And I think Sheamus was up 3-0 and Cesaro came back. I think that's what they did.
Yeah. And I could see where it's like they cheat to win the first 3. And then now Rey Fenix is like,
hey, we don't need to cheat to win. Let's just get it clean.
And then they keep winning. And then the Elite just keep winning. I don't know. But, and I could also see maybe like some kind of gimmick for the final match, like a cage or like something where it's not just like a traditional 6-man every single time.
Before we wrap up here, we can't wrap up this discussion without acknowledging that very early on in the match, the crowd is chanting, "Fuck CM Punk."
Yes.
Now, let me tell you something. That was awesome. I loved that, because whether you had MJF who's telling you, or it's Jericho who's telling you, or Moxley who's telling you, the crowd knows that this company, this startup company that has grown to what it is right now, and we love it, and we're there from the beginning, and it doesn't take a genius to know that you had an outsider come in, and it was a lot of fun watching. The return was a lot of fun, but you had an outsider come in and really F things up, you know?
Yeah.
And as a result of this guy, we haven't been able to see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks for a couple months now. Like, it's so obvious they don't need CM Punk. It was fun, great, good memories. Get the hell out of here. I don't need to see you again. Like, you screwed it up, Punk. Get out of here, man. So I like that the crowd is fully on board with that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching Revolution when he debuted, and it was a very cool moment. But almost instantly when he started talking, I was like, I don't need it. So, because part of it, the part of the issue with Punk when he was there was Punk, the greatness of Punk in WWE on his true, like, great run was he was anti-establishment.
Yeah.
Like, he was against he's the little guy against the bosses, the pipe bomb, all of that. That's what made him great. He came into AEW and he was just a company guy. I don't need CM Punk company guy. Like, so it stunk. Like, cool that he showed up. Great. And then almost immediately it was like not that interesting. And then like you said, he cost us, however long it was of three of the best wrestlers in the world not wrestling.
And also, and the whole thing with Hangman. I mean, like, who the hell has something bad to say about Hangman? You know,
he seems like genuinely like one of the nicest guys in, like, period. He just seems like a nice dude.
Yeah,
guy's a high school he was a high school teacher.
Yeah, get the hell out of here.
I will say, like, with the belts, if the Elite never get the belts, I actually wouldn't have a huge problem with it. I think there's different scenarios with belts. Like, sometimes the belts should be elevating the person holding the belt. Sometimes the person elevates the belt. Like, right now, Rollins elevates the US title. Right now, Jericho elevates the Ring of Honor title. I don't think the belts would elevate the Elite, and I don't think the Elite would necessarily elevate these belts.
I'd prefer Kenny Omega with a solo run. I'd prefer him on his own.
And the Elite they're great. Like, certain people don't necessarily need a title to be as great as they are. And the Bucks are always, call them champions, don't call them champions. The Bucks and Kenny Omega are always going to get a massive pop. They're always going to put on great shows. And every match they put on is always important. So if they don't ever get these trios titles, whatever. I mean, it's fine.
You got a couple bones to pick before we get out of here today?
Yes. I have two. And it kind of just goes along with the time of the how long the show was, right? So the pre-show was an absolute joke.
I didn't watch any of the pre-show because I know it's going to be first of all, I was out. I was at the Panthers game yesterday, but it didn't matter because I got to bide my time where I know this is going to be a long show. I could shave off an hour right off the bat.
Yeah. So you had three matches on the pre-show. Okay. You have the Ricky Starks Brian Cage semifinal match in the Eliminator tournament is fine. Good. You got to do it eventually. It's not necessarily a pay-per-view match, right? The finals of the tournament is not on the pay-per-view. It's on Dynamite. So why is the semifinal on there? And if you're going to have that singles match, you can just put it on the main card and give them 10 minutes. And I mean, the card's already 5-6 hours. So you don't need that there, but that match is fine. Then we got a 10-man tag with the Best Friends and
Cassidy and Danhausen,
and Orange Cassidy and Rocky Romero, who shows up whenever he feels like it. And then Danhausen against the Factory, who no one gives a shit about.
And who never win.
Right. And they don't do, I mean, a couple of those guys look like they could be pretty good, but with QT Marshall, who I don't mind also as they're nothing. Right. So this match doesn't need to be there.
I think the match was, I honestly think that match was just about showing that Danhausen is going to start bringing out another side of him. I think that was the whole point of that match.
Yeah.
And he came out with the jar of teeth.
Yeah. I don't know the jar of teeth gimmick.
That's just his thing. Yeah. On the indie scene, like he always came out with a jar of teeth, which he claims he's extracted from his victims. He comes out with a disgusting.
That's good.
He comes out with a disgusting jar of teeth, and so he's showing
he poured it in Nick Camerado's mouth.
Yeah, that's his thing. Yep, that's his thing. So okay. I like that he's bringing out the evil side of Very Nice, Very Evil. I'm a big Danhausen guy.
Yeah.
It seems that when he took the pile driver on the steel steps last week, that kind of that has brought out the voice in his head that he said he thought was gone, and now he can come and win some matches because he doesn't win any matches. That's just very nice, Danhausen. So now I think he's going to do some cool shit because I've seen Danhausen on the indie scene. Dude can go. So I think this is going to be fun now.
Yeah, I fair enough. And I don't know much about Danhausen, so but he's interesting, and you need gimmicks in wrestling. It can't all just always be serious, so you need it.
How about him in the back when Jericho and Hager are asking Cassidy what's in the bag, and Danhausen is dressed in a suit? I'll allow it.
Yeah. I mean, him and Orange Cassidy's relationship is interesting. I love Orange Cassidy, but I just is it losing steam is my question with Orange Cassidy, like his whole gimmick.
No, I'm good
with it. You're good with it? Okay. Yeah. I just think the whole best friends, or it just seems like that whole group has become like a huge joke. I don't know. Because I think Trent is awesome, and I think he could be really good on his own. But he just, I don't know, whatever. That match didn't need to be on the card. Okay. Then the biggest, really arguably the biggest disaster of the whole night, even more of a disaster than the Sting match, Eddie Kingston versus Jun Akiyama.
Yeah, what happened there?
So this is one of those things where if I say Jun Akiyama to you, do you know who that is?
No.
You have any idea who that is?
No.
Okay. So the only context I got of why this match is happening is Eddie Kingston cutting a promo saying that he watched Jun Akiyama when he was younger and that, influenced him. That's it. If the announcers, I apologize to the announcers right now if they gave more context. I still don't know who Jun Akiyama is. And I don't know why that match was important. They did not set the table well enough. And Eddie Kingston had like a mental breakdown after the match. It was obviously partially in character, partially not, but there was way too much time of him like crying in the ring.
I don't know if there's such thing as Eddie Kingston in character. I think it's just Eddie Kingston, dude. I don't think there's a character.
Okay, so it's like minutes of him emotionally crying in the ring because of what? Because he beat a guy that he watched 20 years ago. Oh, okay. And then I guess my assumption is they ended the match too early, and then they just gave a microphone to Eddie Kingston, and he's just like, how much time do I have? And he just starts saying shit. He's like thanking people. He's like, Jamie Hayter's gonna kick someone's ass tonight, and he Britt Baker's fighting tonight. John Moxley's gonna.
He was selling the pay-per-view.
But why? Like, it was just so poorly done. Just get rid of the pre-show. At this point, just get rid of the pre-show. And that leads me to my real bone to pick with the whole thing is this whole show maybe to me could be like close to being an A if they would just invest some money in the announce team. They throw all this money at all these guys coming from WWE.
You don't like Excalibur?
Excalibur is fine.
I think Excalibur is very good. I'm surprised with how good I think he is.
He's good. He's good with calling matches.
Yeah,
he's good at calling matches. He knows that but Shivani's a lead. Excalibur's a lead. Jim Ross is a lead.
Yeah.
Taz is get Taz off. Taz was great once. It feels like all they do now is Tony Schiavone and Taz are just like cracking jokes on each other instead of like calling the match. And no one is like this is the thing with Cole, right? Every moment feels big with Cole because he sets the table of why it's important and he reacts like it's the most important thing that ever happened. When MJF won last night, I didn't feel like the future of the company won. I just felt like another guy won a title, and then almost immediately they were promoting Dynamite. Let it breathe. You're on pay-per-view. Why does MJF win a title and then immediately we're promoting what's going to happen on Wednesday?
Yeah, I don't remember. There's no, that was the heist of the century. Like I can't remember, what the call was. There should have been a big call.
Yes,
when he
was
won.
a moment for that company.
Yeah.
Like, this has been back to All In when MJF fought against, I don't even remember who he fought, but he lost it all in. But this has been, they've been leading to this. Like,
yeah, MJF, there could have been some of the devil has returned, like
something.
There should have been something.
But they do it. It's like, it seems like it's every big match. They don't seem as big because the announcers just are, I think, Jim
Has
Ross,
Regal aligned himself with the devil, something like that.
But Jim Ross he's the GOAT. And arguably, I mean, I think Cole is the GOAT, but
look, you don't need to sugarcoat it. We all know what you're about to say. Come on.
But he's lost it. He's lost it, man. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have it, and he doesn't connect anymore. And he just says random old man stuff. Shivani's is fine, but Shivani's up there. Like, the perfect example is, I was reading an interview, Tom Hannafin, who formerly, Tom Phillips in WWE, was discussing how he loves calling Impact matches with Aiden English, who now goes by another name, but Aiden English, who was in WWE. When those guys left WWE, why didn't you go get them? Like, bring in some energy. Jimmy Smith, who just got booted from Raw, who I thought was great on Raw, like, bring him in. Like, change it up. Like, I think part of it is Tony Khan is like really loyal to these guys because they've been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
But I just don't think the announce team, it works anymore. So, like, Excalibur's, I agree. Excalibur is really good.
I think he's good.
But there's too much like back and forth during matches where like someone flubs and then they're just talking about how that guy messed up. And it's like, I get it. That's entertaining every now and then. But I just, there's so many times where I don't feel like I know the context, particularly when these New Japan guys, DDT, Pro Wrestling Noah, Pro Wrestling Joshi, like, these people come in and they treat it a lot of times, to me at least it seems, as if we're supposed to know who this guy is. And
right.
And that's a problem I have with almost all of their announcing, is that even I know AEW fans are hardcore and I follow AEW, but
I'm pretty hardcore and I don't know who a lot of these guys are if you don't tell me.
Yeah, it just set the table for why these matches are important, or why it's important that this person's here.
Yeah.
Renee Young does a backstage interview with some guy from from New Japan or who's now in AEW. Okay, cool. He's in AEW, but why is it important that he's in AEW? Tell me something about this guy that makes me care that he's here. If not, then just keep building the guys that you already have, because you have great talent on the roster.
Fair point.
They just don't do it. They don't do a great job of it, and it hurts the product. Like, it just makes it seem less important. And if you're only gonna have 4 pay-per-views a year, every moment of the pay-per-view should be important.
Joey, this was a fun weekend, man. Yesterday, I thought we did a good show recapping. If you're listening right now, yesterday's not dated. We recap the entire previous week, and we give you a bonus episode this week with reaction to AEW Full Gear. So I think we got a fun week here coming up, because not only are we going to get the fallout on Wednesday for Full Gear, but starting tomorrow night, we got the last Raw before Survivor Series, War Games. This is a big week in pro wrestling.
Yeah, so that means we got another 2-episode weekend next week.
Yes, and it's Saturday night, I believe, War Games, right? So we can do the same drill Saturday, Sunday. Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Yep. Excellent job here, Joey, man. This was fun, and we'll do it again next weekend, yeah?
Yep. Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right, so everyone, make sure you tune into Zaslow Show 2.0 tomorrow, and otherwise, it's still real to me. We'll talk to you next Saturday. You know what that means.